Welcome, everyone. Cristiano Galvão here, live with a great guy at my side, Jasper from Slovenia. He's MVP and he is going to talk about data model calendar. Well, this is Jasper. Welcome. Thanks for accepting the invitation.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
your show now. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. And yeah, so let's jump right into it. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Cool. Okay, so this presentation is all about data modeling and probably the most important dimension within your data model, and that is your calendar table. Now, once you've been doing this for quite a long time, you're gonna kind of feel the need to extend your calendar table a bit. And this is probably one of the videos you should look for when doing that. So let me just go through the presentation real quick. So my name is Gašper Kamenšek, as Cristiano said, and some people will be disappointed if I don't say this. So I'm a Microsoft Excel MVP, been one since 2016, and I come from Slovenia, which is the only country in the world that has the word love in the name. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, so I'm mostly known for my Excel Unplugged blog, and lately I've also been dabbling in the YouTube channel. So since this is a very short presentation, I will do a follow-up of about 4-part video presentation on my YouTube channel. And if this is something that you would be interested in, just check it out over there. It will go more in depth, whereas this will be kind of an just all around overview of the extending of your calendar table. I'm going to start off not where you would expect me to, although I love it how Excel crept in there. So we're going to look at Excel somewhere in the middle, but most of the time we're going to spend in Power BI Desktop. Now, the reason we're going to do that is because data modeling, at least to me, it doesn't really matter if you're using Excel or if you're using Power BI Desktop. It's the same Power Query engine, well, almost the same. And it's the same Power BI, or actually Power Pivot engine. Not quite the same. It's a different version, but still, it's the same beast underneath. And if you can do it in Excel, you can do it in Power BI. Now, the reason I chose Power BI for this presentation is because it actually emphasizes the problems that you have in Excel. So it kind of takes the same problems, but then it builds upon them. So it creates even bigger problems for you and an even bigger need for extending your calendar table. So within this data model, we have probably the simplest, and let me just start off with a blank one. So let's go with this one. So this is our fact table. It doesn't get much simpler than that. So we have the date, which is, monthly granularity of data. And then you have the values. So for each month, you have a value. And then you also have the scenario. So there's actual and there's plan in there. And that is it. That is our entire fact table. Usually you would have, some sort of product information in there, store information, geography, customer information, whatever. But we're going to go simple here because the only thing we really need is the dates, right? Because we're going to look at our data by those dates, or actually by months within our reports. So upon this, we should create a calendar table. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to simply create one by creating a new table. So we're just going to do it in the Power BI desktop. So we're going to say new table. We're going to call it, shockingly so, a calendar table. And we're just going to use the calendar auto function, which is already built in. So why not just use that one? And here is our calendar table, right? It has all the dates from the earliest year, January 1st, to the last year that is within our data, and December 31st. And this is our calendar table, right? Or actually, this is the start of your calendar table. This is the basis. This is what you need to even have or to even talk about the calendar table. So this is kind of the basis of it. And then we're simply going to build upon it. And I'm just going to copy this. So we're going to build upon it with something like this. Right, so this is kind of the calendar table that you would see within almost every data model. So people want to slice and dice their data by year, sometimes by month, or actually most of the time by month. Quarters are there, and then we have the weekdays, and we also have weeks in there. Now, we're only interested in months here. Now, everything we're going to talk about could be transferred to quarters, could be transferred to even days, if that would be, or weeks, if that would be what you're interested in. But we're going to talk about months. And what we're going to do is, so this would be your basic calendar. And even within this calendar, you could create amazing things, right? And I'm just going to jump to this one because it already has the report made. But if I look at what's underneath, it's the same fact table, and it's the calendar table, and it hasn't changed almost any to what you're seeing there. I've just hidden a few columns, but that's it. And then I just created a calculation table, which is disconnected, which allows me to use this switch up here. So is this a monthly or is it a year-to-date calculation? And that is it, right? So this is kind of your basic report. This is what you would see when, going for the yearly or monthly sales report. And if I go, I can do this for each year. And since I'm using the Zebra BI visuals, I already have the comparison to the previous year and to plan. Although, mind you, those are separate measures within here. But anyways, this kind of looks great, right? And I can look at it monthly. I can look at it year to date. And it seems as if it doesn't have any, let's say, there's no trouble within this, but trouble would appear as soon as you would go to the current year. And this is what you would get. And luckily, it's June right now, because if it would be January or February, you would only have the two columns, right? And this is where things kind of get tricky within the usual way that we slice and dice our data by month, and then we have the year, and then we look at it monthly or year to date, and this just doesn't look right. It doesn't feel right. And even if because this looks even worse because of the previous year, because of course, for the previous year, we have the data down to December, and I'm just gonna slightly change the previous year. I'm gonna say if the actual is blank, and if I could spell correctly, there it goes, then the previous year should also be blank, just so we don't have all this redness. But even if I do this, here's what I get. And now imagine if it was February, right? If I only had the data down to February, wouldn't this just look the worst? You would only have the two columns. There's no story there. There's nothing, to even be told within this. And then if I go year to date, well, now that one's going to appear again, but this just doesn't really, do anything. So what we would like to do as a first thing is to sort of enable ourselves to use or to look at months through several years, which is, again, a basic thing to do. And the only difference that I have in here is I have a slight difference in my year-month column, which would usually you would have this one like this. Usually you would have year, and then you would have the month like so. And if you would do it like this, it's kind of tricky, but this one would work because the sorting is kind of already taken care of within the way that you defined it. But if I go back to what I did, because I like that one much better, so I did something like this. See, if I want to look at my year month like this, now this becomes a problem simply from the sorting standpoint. Because how is this going to sort? Well, I can show you. It's going to sort something like this. So I have my Aprils together and then my Augusts together and so on and so on. It just doesn't feel good, right? But it is what I would need if I would want to kind of include the 21, and then I can deselect the 2019. And even though the 21 only goes down to June at this point, I still have enough data there to kind of make, sense of the bigger picture. But there's a problem here. And the problem is, well, at this point, I can't even find my 21s and my 20s. Everything is kind of mixed. Well, it's not really mixed. It's sorted by alphabet. But do you really want your months to be sorted alphabetically? Usually not. So what you usually do, and you need to do this in your data models, is you do a sort by, right? And if you have simple months, you say sort by month number, which makes sense. But over here, you have a problem. You can't sort by month number because the reason you can do it here is because even though it's 2017 or 2018, January is always just Jan. It's always January. So you can sort it by a month number, whereas here, January 17 and January 18 are two different entities. And just to kind of, to be able to say, well, I want to sort this by a different column, what you need is every month-year combination to get a unique ID. And this is where things kind of get tricky. And let me just show you in Excel, our favorite application of all time. And let's do this. So let's go January 1st, 20, and let's put it down to, let's just make this kind of smaller, and let's go all the way down to December 21st. Now, what you do is, so you want this to have a unique ID and this to have a unique ID, and you also need to make sure that these two are sequential, right? Because that would be your sorting. So you need to make sure of that, and you also need to make sure that whichever ID comes up here, this one is also sequential, right? So these would sort of stretch on your timeline. And the basic thing you do is you look at this. So the first thing you do is you say, I want a year of this, and then times 12. So this would sort of give you, something like this, right? So you get your IDs, not all the way through, but at least within a year, I get a single ID. So now I'm already separating by years. And now if I just add to this a simple plus month of this, this is much closer to where I want to be. Let me just get this like this, right? So this looks great. So this month year combination, so that's January 20, has its own ID. February 20 has its own ID. And here's where it gets interesting. Now, December of 20 got 24,252, whereas January of 21 got 24,253. So they're sequential now, right? And if I was going for the, absolute best that I could, I would say we'll take this, but minus the minimum of year that you can find within these dates. Also kind of making use of new dynamic arrays over here, right? And this would be my IDs. And if I only did this correctly, so excited that I used the dynamic arrays, I forgot to make it an absolute reference. And there you go. So that would be your IDs, right? Just sort of taken down for the minimum of the year, or to put it differently, the January of the first year within your data is now ID 1, right? And so on and so forth. And now let me just add this to my data model. So let's say over here, I have my data model, and now I'm going to add a year-month index, and I'm just going to bring it in like this. So I have this, and now I just add exactly what I just told you. So take the year from the date, multiply that by 12, and then just add the month of the date. Again, if I wanted to do it best of the best, I would go minus minimum of, but this will do for what I'm trying to show you. So if I take this, now each year-month combination gets its own index. And now even here, if I look at this report, now I can go, well, okay, this column should be sorted by, of course, this column, right? So if I go column tools, sort by column, and just say sort this by year-month index, if I now look at this, now this looks much better, right? But that's not, kind of the end result, because still I always have these, and if this one goes up to June and then I have the entire 20 here, it really still doesn't kind of make sense. So the next thing you can do, and that is enabled by exactly this year-month index, is to create what I call is a rolling 13, and it's only a flag at this point. And then I'm going to show you what you can create by simply using that flag. And this will be something like this. So a rolling 13 would be, take the current year-month combination and simply calculate the index of that one, and then just subtract the year-month index of the current date that you're looking at, and figure out if that one falls within the last 13 months. That's it. And I'm going to do this by simply adding a new column. So let's go like this. Let's add a new column, and it will be the rolling 13. So it looks kind of like this. So it says it's a rolling 13 if a year of today, right? So of this date times 12 plus month of today. So this essentially is the year-month index of this date minus the year-month index of that I just calculated. If that is less than 13, once I subtract those, I just give it a flag. That could be a yes, no, it could be a whatever you want. I just give it a 1 and a 0, but it really doesn't matter because it's just a flag, right? And then I use the flag within my reports. And the way I use it is I remove this date filter because I really never want to use it. And what I say is I want to use a filter on the entire report. And the filter I want to use comes from the calendar table. It comes from the rolling 13 column, and filters on this page should be, and I'll just do basic filtering, this should be a flag 1. And why this is probably the best thing you ever want to see is because you get your current month, and then you get that one back, all the way back to not just previous year next month, but to previous year same month. So now within this, you have the last 12 months, but then you also have a previous year, same month comparison within one visual. And since this is a zebra visual, I could actually make so that this one would, fall upon this one, but let's not get carried away. And just doing this is so much better than having slicers by year, because, this one, I get it. It seems like it's kind of more, but usually what you're doing is you just want the current month, current year combination, and you want to look at that. And this one does that perfectly. So this is your rolling 13. It will just, because it will get updated every time you update your data model. This will always be the last 13 months. And then you can look at them year to date, and you can look at them monthly, whatever you want to do. But this is, a brilliant, brilliant thing. Okay. And then the way you can build upon this is simply by saying, and I'm only got 5 minutes, but I'm going to do this. I'm just going to copy this just so I can show you, because this should be what you're looking for in Power BI every time you do a calendar. I'm just going to add a new column, and this one will be, I'm going to slightly change the year month, the way I look at year month, and I'm going to change it to this. Oh, and that will not work. Let me just look at where I've So year of today, month of today, year of today, month of today. That's cool. That's cool. This one is the problem. So let me just remove this, and it should work. Okay. So what I got over here is I have my year-month combinations just as I have them here, but then I also have something else where I would get to the current year-month combination, which would be June of 21. It doesn't say June of 21, it says current month. And then the previous month also just says previous month. And how I can use this within my reports, well, it's amazing. If I have a report like this, instead of this one saying, year is 2021, it could just say current year, right? Or this month could say current month, previous month. I would, of course, sort this by the same index and get always, the current month, the previous month would always be exactly where they need to be. But here's where this is magic. In Power BI, usually you go for publishing your things. And once you do that, let me just check where I have this. It's over here. When you do the publish, right, what you do is you say pin, and you pin this to your dashboards. And the problem with the dashboards is it's sticky. All your filters are sticky. So if this says 2021, when 2021 will flip over to 2022, you're going to need to select 2022 in your reports and then just repin this to your dashboards. But if this says current year or current month, then your dashboards would always be up to date. And basically, that is as far as we can get within this. But basically what I told you is you can extend your calendar by doing a lot of magic afterwards, but your basis is this, year-month index. So indexing every year, month, as if it's an individual entity. And then you can, this just blows up the possibilities that you have within your reports. Okay, we have 1 minute for questions. Questions?
Questions. They have some seconds to hear us, and they will start writing soon.
Okay.
Don't miss this opportunity. Não percam esta oportunidade. Ele está ao vivo, live from Slovenia.
Yeah.
It's Gašper, right?
Yes. Exactly. You even pronounced it right. That's a shocker because usually people don't on their first attempt.
I was writing this to John in the comments because this is the pronunciation of the S in Rio de Janeiro city. We have this accent strong in the S, like sh. So it's
really?
Gašper. Yeah.
And that's exactly as it should be pronounced. So that's brilliant.
Yeah, in São Paulo, maybe they would read Gašper, but we read Gašper here. Yeah.
Yeah,
I will never. Yeah,
usually I would get Gašper, yeah. Or I would get the Casper, the friendly ghost. That also works.
But someone told me wrong. It's funny because we know each other from the networks, and we used to write. We don't used to call, so that's the reason. Okay, questions, guys. Don't miss this opportunity. We have to jump to the other session now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it was great. Great to be in this, and
thank you very much.
A big applause to you for doing this and for doing such a great job. And if anyone has questions, just shoot me up an email, and
yes,
we can carry on.
They write in the comments. I'm sure many people will watch later from the recording. The video will remain in the Excel Turbo channel. So people who are watching from the recording, please feel free to write your comments below the video. Thanks again.
Yeah,
thanks for watching, everyone. We see each other in the next video. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.